I don't know how many people actually know, but you were on The Apprentice.
We were doing personality profiles. We were doing IQ tests. We were doing drug tests. We were doing one-on-one interviews with Mark Burnett and Donald Trump.
The little slug they put under your name was struggling real estate agent.
Yeah, that's right. That was my title.
Yeah. Were you struggling at that time?
Yeah, we all were.
Donald Trump. What are your impressions of him?
I really wish the world could see the off-camera personality. Hi, Wade. Dave.
It's been a while.
It has.
I usually sit over there off camera. I was on the first episode, but now I'm back because I want to cover two things in this episode. Number one, we're going on 50 episodes of this podcast, which is really cool. And then I always wanted to talk to you about something we just have never spoke of in this room before, and that's your appearance on The Apprentice.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to get into the details of that too. All right. So first of all, this podcast closing on 50 episodes, that's about 2 years old. And still, every time I come here, you come in here looking like you regretted getting out of bed.
Takes everything I got to sit at this table.
But why? You know, it's so funny because you sit down and you launch right into it like you've been doing this for years. So what is it about? Because I know you're a very reserved person, a very private person. So does that play into why?
Yeah. I think I am private. I am reserved. I don't like to share my successes. I'm not a guy that needs trophies, awards, things like that. I also have a love-hate with just social media in general. I mean, I think it's a great source of information, but it's also can be a great source to just go on and brag and talk about yourself, and everybody's kid is winning this award and that award, and every realtor is the best. And so I guess when I started this, I wanted to try to get into more informational topics for the consumer and to cut through some of the BS in the industry. And hopefully I've had some success at that.
Social media can be stressful because I think it can make a lot of people feel they're not at a certain point in their life with everybody on bragging and why is everything working for them and not for me? And it doesn't feel genuine and it feels a little bit icky and you just want to walk away from it. But when what you do, you got to be a part of that world too.
Yep, absolutely. Like I said, it's a love-hate. It's a necessary evil.
Yeah.
It's something that I have to do in my industry. Social media is a huge part of real estate. Love it or hate it, you have to be a part of it. And I will tell you that I've had many sales in my career as a result of social media, whether that's through the podcast or through Facebook or just advertising on Facebook or Instagram, whatever it might be. It's something that's definitely got its fingers in the real estate market for sure.
Is there something that you learned through the episodes? Because a lot of what you've been doing is based off the frustration you felt over the last few years. Do you feel like maybe I'm not alone?
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing I've learned is I think everybody at the highest level has that same sense of frustration in this industry. Not everybody's willing to share it and talk about it. Some just brush it aside and just move on with life. But I think everybody that I talk to, from the CEO of RE/MAX, the owner of RE/MAX, down to commercial realtors, residential realtors, mortgage originators, title companies, they all have the same frustration with our industry. And unfortunately, it's not something that's changing anytime soon. We see peaks and valleys where the market will correct itself and will cleanse the industry a little bit, but we're always going to have that, I think, shadiness in our industry that at times makes me want to not be a part of the industry, but at times makes me want to be more a part of the industry because it gives me that opportunity to inject some professionalism into an industry that isn't very professional.
Yeah. Zach and I sit over in the corner and we observe every episode, and I probably can speak on his behalf saying we've learned more about real estate than we ever knew, especially behind the scenes and the stuff that you really deal with. But out of all of the real estate episodes, the one episode that stuck out to me, and I'm going to ask you which one stuck out to you as maybe being a more special episode, was the Woodbury Miracle.
Oh,
you had those two guys on.
Interesting.
And their name slips my mind.
Mark Hargis and Ryan Warner.
That's right.
Friends and business owners in the community.
And they talked about this community event where you set up the baseball field for kids with needs. And it was a really special episode, and it really spoke of a community coming together and the specialness of Woodbury. Is there anything that sticks out to you?
Yeah, that was neat. We got together. That was a 10-year anniversary of that event. That was a neat event, and we oftentimes forget about what we did and what we created in Woodbury. We created something for the community. Probably the one I honestly enjoyed the most was a pretty recent one we did where I had 2 younger agents interview me. I don't like to be the guy interviewing people. I like to have people interview me. I don't like to be the guy that's feels like they're maybe above people and talking down to them. So I enjoyed sharing some of my knowledge with them, and I thought that was a great episode, and I enjoyed that.
And people should go back and watch that episode because they couldn't fit in enough questions for you.
Yeah. In fact, I think we should probably have them back at some point.
That episode could have gone on for 2 hours. Yeah. Everything from the bigger picture real estate stuff to marketing, all that, to where do you get your suits? They wanted to know everything.
Right. Yeah.
They just wanted to copy and paste what you've done and just walk up. But that's been a huge episode.
And good for them. I think being inquisitive is an important trait to have in this industry, right? Willingness to learn from others. So.
Yeah. I want to shift gears a little bit here. And you can find a couple little things online about your experience with The Apprentice. But I thought it'd be really fun on this podcast to dive in. I don't know how many people actually know, but you were on The Apprentice. It was back in 2010. And that was season 3?
I think it was season 10 of really? The Civilian Apprentice. Yeah, of course they had the celebrity side.
Yeah, it really took a kind of weird turn.
Yeah, where they're raising money for charities and stuff. This was the Civilian Apprentice where we were all competing for a job for the Trump organization.
So I want to talk about that a little bit because knowing you like I know you now, how the heck did that ever happen?
Yeah. That show came about in the early 2000s, and I was pretty new in my career at the time. I want to say 01, 02, something like that. And I actually applied at the time and got to what I think was like the quarterfinals of getting on the show. And
really?
Yeah, that was, and anyway, I ended up in Chicago and getting sent home on a flight back home because I failed the interviews there. And so years went by and they started to transition into the Celebrity Apprentice. And then at the end of the Celebrity Apprentice, one episode they said, we're bringing back the Civilian Apprentice. Yeah. And it was a kind of a recession themed one. And it was about if you've been at the top of your game and the recession's kind of knocked you down to your knees and you're battling back, we want to hear from you. So that started with just an online application you fill out.
Okay.
To that transition to now send us your resume to, at the time it was Skype, send us a Skype. We did a Skype interview.
Right.
To now you get a one-way ticket to LA. So I think it started out with almost 250,000 applicants. I think 150 of us went to LA. We had a one-way ticket and they put us in a hotel room and they said, just stay there. We'll come get you when it's time to do what you need to do. Yeah. And days went by and they kept getting rid of people. 150 went down to 50 and we were doing personality profiles. We were doing IQ tests. We were doing drug tests. We were doing one-on-one interviews with Mark Burnett and Donald Trump. We would do mock boardroom sessions with some of the other contestants. And by about day 5 or 6, you're like, okay, this is getting real now, right? And you got a chance to be one of these contestants. And they selected the 8 men and 8 women during my time in LA. Yeah. And got home, packed my bags, and headed to New York.
That is really cool. I didn't know that you actually went through the interview process before that. So why The Apprentice?
The name Donald Trump and real estate were 1 and 1. I liked the show like you did. I was a fan of the show. I just when I watched the show, everybody probably has this, and I'm sure when people watch me, I could do better than that guy, right? I've got more to offer than that guy. Yeah. We all have that. I think anybody that's an entrepreneur has that personality. Right. And it just spoke to me when they said, if you've been hit by the recession and you're up here and now you're down here, give us a call. The
little slug they put under your name was struggling real estate agent.
That's right. That was my title.
Yeah. Were you struggling at that time?
Yeah, we all were. I mean, it was real estate was the center of the Great Recession, right? Uh-huh. I mean, we went from 90 miles an hour down a one-way street to literally hitting a brick wall, and it was tough times. Yeah.
So now looking back, so we're 13 years out from that, or maybe 14 from when you recorded it, right?
That'll be 13.
What are the feelings when you think back at that production process? What are the feelings that come up? Was it stressful? Was it exciting? What feelings come up?
Number one, this is nothing, right? Sitting in this room with you is nothing. Try sitting in a boardroom with Trump and Ivanka and Eric and Don Jr. and 16 contestants and 7 cameras on you. And that was interesting. I'm one that probably has a lot of more regrets than anything. I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that, right? It's like, I think when a camera's on you, you watch your P's and Q's a little bit more, right? And I wish I would have just been probably more me and just let loose. And I think I would have competed a lot better. That's probably the biggest thing, just with anything, right? I walk out of a listing presentation these days, I wish I would have said this. So to me, I think looking back, it's more about some of the regrets of not saying or doing things I should have done. But at the end of the day, it was an opportunity to leverage and use that as a catapult in my career, and took advantage of it. And
was there anything when you watched it, when the season actually came out, did you have watch parties?
Once in a while, yeah, we had a big.
That's really cool.
For the grand opening or the big premiere party, I guess it was, and then we had a few little small watch parties. But again, I'm private and quiet.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed time with my family watching it as much as.
Did you watch it and think, oh, they got that wrong? Did they paint you in a certain light and you wanted to say, no, that didn't happen?
Yeah, at times they did. Yeah, and at times they try to get you to say things on camera that you maybe didn't want to say. Right. And I think I was smart enough to just bite my tongue and not say what they were trying to get me to say. Maybe one of the reasons I got fired, I just wasn't saying some of those things. But yeah, they certainly know how to make you a pawn in the game, right?
Right. And so after that season ended, if I have the story, you actually went back, circled back, and contacted the Trump organization, and you were literally an apprentice for a while. Is that true?
I did. I know I was the only contestant to actually just proactively reach back out. I'm like, I got this door that's open. I might as well walk through it. I think a lot of people just said, oh, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm going to close the door behind me and move on to my next chapter. I'm like, I've got it in. I'm going to go. I've got an opportunity to talk to one of the greatest real estate minds in the history of the world. I'm going to talk to him. So yeah, I went and spent some time out there. Not a lot, but enough to just pick his brain and meet other members of his organization and see how he runs things and get to know the off-camera personality, the pre-political personality, and enjoyed my time. So
you actually had some moments to hang around Donald Trump and learn what he did, get his philosophy, and follow him around?
Yeah, you see him with at the time, his son Barron was on his knee. He was so little, right? You get to see him interact as a dad, and it was just a great experience for me. Like I said, I think when life gives you those opportunities, you got to take advantage of them, and I did. So.
There really is, in the minds of Americans, the two sides of Donald Trump. The Trump that you know and the Trump that we know, which was pre-political. He's always had a little hand in politics here and there, but nothing serious, right? So it was pre-political. He was a personality. He wasn't a celebrity. He was more of a personality until he got on The Apprentice. We all knew what he did. He was a bigger than life guy. He was just that guy, and he was selling books like crazy, and you respected him. I know. And then the politics started, right? So you've known this guy. You knew this guy before all that happened. What are your impressions of him?
Oh, it's funny. Everybody, well, not everybody, but the majority of the Americans loved him when he was on The Apprentice. Right? He was a great personality. He fit that role so well. Remember, they tried to have The Apprentice after he was done and put, I think, Schwarzenegger on one of them. And
disaster.
Some Martha Stewart or something like that. And it was a disaster. He fit that role, and they loved him, and he did a great job with it. Right. He has a certain brand, right? And when he's on camera, and which is that brand, and I really wish the world could see the off-camera personality, human being, dad, grandpa, businessman, because I think that more Americans would love him. There's still going to be that side, 50% of the population that just hate the man because he is who he is, and he's on that side of the political aisle, and those are his beliefs. It is what it is. But if more people could see who he is off of camera, I think he'd probably get a lot more votes.
Yeah. I have a very liberal friend who's very influential. Can't stand the guy, right? But he ended up going to this thing where he sat at the same table with Donald Trump, walked away charmed. So this guy's actually a really nice guy. Yeah. Where is this guy on social media?
That guy doesn't sell books. And that guy doesn't get ratings, right? It's the guy that's on, when the cameras go on, that's the brand. That's what sells books and gets ratings and makes money.
And when you're sitting in there in that boardroom situation, I'm sure that didn't last 6 minutes like we saw on television. It probably lasted a long time.
Oh, man.
So when the cameras were off, was he one way, and then the cameras went on, he became that other guy?
He was pretty focused in those boardroom sessions. Those boardroom sessions, number one, were in June in New York. We couldn't run the air conditioning because it was too loud in those boardrooms, right? So we're in suits, and it's about 100 degrees in these boardrooms. But no, he'd come in from behind his chair and sit down, and he was really focused. He had his script and what he needed to do, and he'd hammer it out. We'd get it done in about an hour, and you'd see about 9 minutes of it on TV. But he was pretty like, this is my time's precious. I've got an agenda.
Yeah.
Let's get it done.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes when we'd have to maybe wipe sweat off and turn the cameras off for a minute, you'd see him interacting with his kids in a way that was
cute.
A little bit more personable.
In the end, are you glad you did it?
I am. Yeah. I'd love an opportunity to do it again.
Would you?
I would.
That was my next question.
I would just.
Why?
I think at the time, it's just at a different place in my life. I think with age, you just get to a point where it's just, I'm going to say and do what I'm going to say and do. I am who I am. And age changes your, I guess, willingness to be you. You know what I mean? I think as you get older, you have less of a filter.
And it's another chance just to
and I don't have regrets. At the end of the day, it is what it is. It was a great experience. I got to meet some great people.
Right.
Some of the contestants were great people as well. I'm in a fraternity now that I'll always be in of people that not a lot of people can say they did that. And say what you want to say about once you're on the show, but I got to tell you, getting there and getting through that gauntlet was quite an accomplishment, because that was a big challenge and very intimidating getting there. Once you're there, that's a whole different animal.
Yeah, very cool. I'm not saying you're Donald Trump, but there are two sides of Wade Hanson. You have this reputation within the real estate industry of being the guy that is, you're going to say it like it is, and you're not there to make friends. You've said that many times. And then there's a side that Zach and I have seen. There you come in, hey, you guys need anything? Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's good? And then you can't wait to get in the deer stand every November.
And maybe that's why I like the guy so much. He has his business shark mentality, but he's also a very well-rounded family man too.
Okay.
Maybe we align that way. I'm not saying I am that person either, but I think you even hear stories of, take a look at Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest basketball players to ever play the game. He had his black mamba mentality when he went on the basketball court. Yet off the court, he was a great dad. And I think everybody that competes at the highest level in any business probably has two different sides. They have the business side and they have the family side.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. That would be fun to see you go back on for another season. And if you ever get the chance.
I'm thinking that NBC won't sign Donald Trump to a contract. That's my opinion, but we'll see.
All right. Here's to 50 more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you,
appreciate
Wade.
it. This has been wonderful. I appreciate the opportunity. You guys have done a great job, and it's been great.